Yeah. So I guess when I look back, the biggest mistake I ever made is, so when you've got your own business and you've got a family, there's a lot of juggling to be done. So the lesson from this is getting that balance right. And I was in a position where I adopted 2 kids. This is the first time I've actually spoken about this. Adopted 2 kids. I was married. The business was doing all right. Difficult patch. You're going through a few recessions there in the UK, probably going through that. And I've taken investment in the agency quite a lot. And when I was saying about making sure you get your contracts and your agreements right, there were some issues there. It led to me walking away from my first agency. And at the same time, my marriage fell apart. Oh, wow. And I walked away with nothing. And by that, I mean literally nothing. So that's my biggest mistake. I took my eye off some of the balls. Everything fell apart with the agency and my personal life. And I think, and when I look back at that, so there's my biggest mistake. But what I say is I don't dwell on that, because the day after, it was like, there's the relief, that's all gone. And I got a phone call from one of my customers who said, "We want a new website from you, Darren." And I said, "Do you know what? I've just walked away from my agency, and because of the terms of the contract, I had to give it all to my co-investors." Yeah. I said, "I can't work with you. Just can't do it." He went, "Well, we didn't buy the agency. We bought you. We want to work with you." Mm-hmm. There's the lesson. People buy people. All right, okay. Mm-hmm. So I had £80 in my bank, and I invested that in a train ticket down to the south coast of England. Yeah. And I signed that deal. And when I was on the way back up, a couple of other customers said, "Can we still work with you?" And I'm like, "Not too sure legally." They said, "Yeah, but we're going to work with you anyway."
Let's go. Awesome, everybody. Welcome back to the CVMK Show. I want to thank you for tuning in, because this is the best podcast on the planet, because I'm the best podcast host. The one, the only, the bald head one himself, Mr. Wonderful, aka CVMK, is in the building. I want to say I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. You guys are amazing. The love you're showing, the feedback you're showing on YouTube, just everything. But we can't make this possible if you don't do a few things. I need you to do something. It's free. It's not going to cost you anything. You can put your wallet down. I need you to go to YouTube, subscribe. One word, 4 letters. It's literally my initials. Don't make this complicated. CVMK. You put that in, subscribe. I need you to also go over to the business fitness channel, because that's what we're building out. It's been taking me a while to get it together, but it's CVMK Global. For that, it should be CVMK Global Fitness, I believe. But look, follow us on all socials. _CVMK_show, or _CVMK_show. If you're on TikTok, fan base is all the CVMK Show. But for the supplements, y'all, we have the best supplements. You know why? Because I'm the one who started the company. I know what we put into every product, every ingredient. I know how we source it. I know that we only do the best, only the quality for you guys. This is our new protein, CVMK Central. Right now, our hot sellers, the creatine super thick. I'm telling you, it's a game changer. Men, women, get it today. www.cvmkglobal.store. I'm telling you, it's going to change the world. And when you see this by the summertime, you're going to be like, "Oh my God, how come I didn't get on this sooner?" CVMKglobal.store, where it goes down. When I return, I have a special guest. I got his bio all the way from Manchester, right? All the way from the UK. I'm super excited about getting into it. His name is Darren Ratcliffe. You will be amazed. Amazing experience. When we return, the one, the only Darren. After this.
The limit. From the heart of the Chi, where grit meets grace. Leaders shake hands, fighters push limits, voices rise with faith, and culture moves the streets. This is news, fitness, and perspective with an edge. Raw, executive, unapologetically Chicago. Welcome to the CVMK Show.
All right, let me read his bio. Darren Ratcliffe. There we go. Winning eBay as a client and going on to support brands across Europe, he stands out. He has a proud moment of winning an award for the work he delivered with the English Football League. His real achievement is staying in the game. He has run his own agency. I'm talking about his own agency for 20 years and continued to grow through every market. He started in digital space in 1999, set up his own agency in 2007. And the biggest lesson he's learned that if expectations are not clear and the contract is not clear, problems will follow. Clarity is the start of every project. Both sides keep projects moving in the right direction. Right now, he is training to become a business coach. The aim is to support people in their early careers and help them grow in confidence, build strong habits, and progress faster in business. He wants to help people become the best versions of themselves in work and in life. For the human side is always resilient. Running a business for nearly 2 decades means riding through stress, bad decisions, oh yes, difficult clients, oh yes, and tough markets, staff who throw you curveballs, turn up again the next day to keep building. That lived experience, judgment, and persistence is something AI cannot replicate. It is an active instinct that you have to have. This is the story of Darren Ratcliffe. With that being said, y'all, I need y'all to help me welcome the one, the only, Darren. Darren, how you doing today, man?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, Cody. Thank you very much for having me on.
Man, it is a pleasure to have you on. I'm gonna have to give you the round of applause for being on our show, man. I'm super excited about having this conversation with you. You have been in entrepreneurship and owning your own agency since 1999, right? So
Yeah,
well, 2007 is when you started, but
yeah, I built my first website in 1999, and then websites didn't really exist, like not like you've got now. But back then, I remember that this was in what we call sixth form, so just after high school. And to get on the internet, there was a computer in the library at the college, locked in a cupboard, that you need to have special permission to go on to access this thing called the internet. There was nothing on it because it was that early, and he was my teacher. I guess inspirational stories mean a lot to me. And my teacher, Mr. Morby, he said to me, he said 2 things. He said, in the future, you won't go to Blockbuster to get a film. It will just come down your phone line. And we thought, you're crazy. You're really crazy. That's never going to happen. Yeah. And he also said, in the future, you won't go into, I don't know if you have them in the States, you must do. Yeah, of course you do. You won't go into a phone box to make a phone call. You'll just do it from your pocket. And those are the things. So the reason why I do what I do today is all thanks to him. Because if he didn't inspire me then, I wouldn't have gone on to do what I did.
He's a prophet. Now I could have foreseen though, we won't need to go on phone booths. I mean, cell phones have been around since the 80s. We started kind of weaning out of that mid 90s. But if you were to say it's 1999 and you say we won't need Blockbuster, look, 1999, the late 90s, Blockbuster owned the media experience. If it was outside of the theaters, you had to go to Blockbuster. I remember my dad would take me Friday nights. We'd have like movie night with the family, and we would spend hours just going through Blockbuster. And we had a Blockbuster membership card. I remember the blue card. You had to be an adult. You had to be over 16 to get one. And then, it would get points, and then you would get fees if you didn't rewind the VHS. And, the whole just essence of rentals and buying popcorn at Blockbuster and Mike and Ike's Candy and just all this stuff to do what we do now via stream. Yeah. So yeah, go ahead.
So I would say my kids are 17 and 18, and obviously they know what it is now. But if I said to them a VHS cassette, they wouldn't have the first clue. Not a clue. I think even my youngest, CDs are a bit. Is that one of them things that has music on it? It's like that's how quickly times change.
That's true. I'm getting old. I still remember going outside running with a Walkman in my hand. I'd run, or you put it in your jacket, and then you had the headphones, the wire that was connected here. And now it's like my headphones are wireless. My phone is somewhere across the gym floor. So woo. All right. So let's get to it. So you start this business, right? What inspiration is great, but what do you think made you different that it said, hey, look, instead of, doing the traditional route, working for somebody, I want to do my own thing and then do it in a space that doesn't really have a true blueprint?
Yeah, I think back. So because when I left university, there were no jobs in the city. I went in a city called Newcastle in the northeast of England. There were no jobs doing website design because it was too new. So I got my first job was in IT support, and I love building websites.
Yeah.
So I built one for my local soccer team, Oldham Athletic, and I then thought I'm going to build a website about nightlife in my local town, which I built. And when I look back now, that was probably the start of me and entrepreneurship. Doing something, creating something. And then I started to get jobs as a website designer, a website developer. And I remember my last job I had in 2003. I remember we went down to London on business, and I said to the owner of the business, I said, I think I can run this business better than you. I think you should let me become a director. Obviously, he laughed at me. And I left that business a few months later. But it's, and then as it went on, so my LinkedIn, I'll be open and lie, and admit my LinkedIn is a slight lie. Because I went on to get made redundant. It was either 6 times in 7 years or 7 times in 6 years. I can't remember. But if, in all these businesses, I kept seeing these problems and thinking, this isn't quite right. But there you go. And then it was just when I got made redundant for the last time, I just thought, I'm just going to start asking people if I should build websites for them. And I got my first website with a guy called Rick Cotton from a company called Rent Truck. He's still a client today. And I did that site for him. And he said, well, get a website off my mate, Ian. And then another friend called Ian. And then it just built up. And then all of a sudden, I found myself going from having, at this point, I was doing this and a job at the same time. And I got to the point where the number of clients I had was making my day job a problem. And that's when I knew, I think I've got something here. And that's like my business.
So to follow your story, you identified a problem, and then you started to realize that other organizations were not fixated on really solving these problems. Then you could do these solutions well. And then you built up a client list that made you jump ship. Was there any like hesitation, right? Because like at what is the number, I guess? Because I talk to entrepreneurs all the time. I talk to people that have their own businesses, and they fall in one or two buckets. Either this momentous shock of success hit them and they were forced, or they were forced out and then they found this momentous shock of success. But it only happens in two modes. So what was the number of clients like? What was like, okay, now I can feed myself and this is what I need to do?
Yeah. So the money was coming in, was starting to build up to what my salary was. And so that was the first thing, got to get that right. But it was the motivator for me was time. I was in my dinner hour, I was leaving work, getting in my car, doing work phone calls, getting them clients lined up, and then I'd be going networking before work, having to put a suit on, and then for where I work, you can wear a suit. Like it would just be really unusual. So I was getting changed in the back of my car, getting in work, and I thought this is getting too much. And then I was finding myself having to do bits of my own work in work, and I thought, right, the time is now ready. So like that, and I just knew it was just because there was my own work was greater than my day job. It was just it wasn't just about the money; it was about the time as well. And that's when I knew that if I start my business tomorrow properly, I'm not actually going to sit there thinking I need the phone to ring, because I'd already put in a lot of hard effort.
I totally share the same feeling. I got to a point that I felt like I was cheating on my job with my career, with what I really wanted, my own business. I knew what I was good at. I knew what I was, what I really consumed my mind, I had, customers, not at the point that it matched, my salary, but it was fired. It was real fire. And it's like, should I continue this and risk, derailing my vision, or should I just go all in?
Yeah.
Tell me about it. Go ahead.
And that's the hustle, isn't it? That's when people talk about the hustle, juggling a job and this new business. That's real hustling and making the components fit together. And that's I miss that excitement at times. At times I don't, but yeah, it's a special time.
I totally agree. I know we got to cut to a commercial break, but I want to get into the hustle, juggling these two things at one, because it is a task and it is an art. And I'm just trying to, because you have this that intrinsically mean more, but extrinsically this looks better on paper. When we return, we're going to get into the hustle of juggling your job and your vision after this quick break.
On the days I need mental clarity and peak physical performance, Superpower by CVMK GLOBAL is my to-go. It supports me whether I'm flowing through yoga, pushing heavy in the gym, or striking hard at boxing or Muay Thai. No matter how I combine training, this pre-workout keeps me energized and consistent, feeling locked in and unstoppable. Superpower always delivers. Clean energy, no crash. A non-negotiable for those days I'm pushing extra hard. What are you waiting for? Try it and let me know how it works for you.
Y'all, it's the one, the only Rosa Costa. I want you to fuel your workout with the pre-workout Superpower. Get it today, www.cvmkglobal.store. 225 milligrams of caffeine, 2.5 milligrams of creatine mono, 7.5 grams of citrulline. I'm telling you, you can't go wrong. This is the pre-workout of pre-workouts. Get it today, www.cvmkglobal.store. I want to see this pre-workout in the UK, Darren. I need you to make that happen, man. I want to see it. I need that. The name of the company is Global. I want to see that global customer experience. So juggling it, it's wild because I don't through college. I worked for this Vietnam vet that, he would share stories with me, how he started his business and how he would work part-time. We would work full-time to fuel this, bookstore that he created. And he said, in those times, he said, because the unions were so strong, because you were allotted a time frame of breaks and lunch, you really could have two jobs and still not feel overburdened. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, even there's no such thing as full time anymore. Like, it's just whatever time is needed, right? And if you're working for an employer, to really scale your own individual business, you would literally have to work 22 hours a day. Because you don't know, you can get a call, especially as the world becomes smaller, you start dealing with international companies. You might have a team in the UK and you guys are, 5-6 hours ahead of us here in the States, and you have to meet with them and your day starts at 5 a.m, right? Or you have a team in Australia. I worked for a company that's headquartered in Australia, and you're getting off work and they're starting their job, and then you got to have a meeting at 10 p.m. So the only real way to kind of juggle it is to pick a ball, right? And now you have to pick a ball. So tell me about that mind, that feeling when you decided, Darren, this is what I'm running with. This is what I'm going to do. And even it might look, silly to my friends and family. This is what I'm going to do. This is who I am. What was that moment for you like?
Yeah, it's stressful and it's hard work. I guess the challenge that you mentioned there about the hours that people work now, that's because of technology and the sort of stuff I deliver. Because we've live in a connected world, work can be done at different times. So I guess when I got to that point where I was, getting up sort of 5 a.m, doing some work, going to work, leaving work to do some of my own work, it's stressful. You're having to juggle a lot. You're probably telling some sort of mistruths along the way to cover up with your employer to get around some of the stuff, using all your holidays up to invest in this. But then also when it comes to your friendship circles and your hobbies and your passions, to a degree, you pay the price there as well, because you've got to invest that time. So it's not easy. It's hard work. Sometimes it's not always fun. But as you and I will know, when you get to the other side of that, you've got the reward, haven't you? And then it's all worthwhile. And you soon forget. I can't remember how hard it was 20 years ago, but it was worth it. I want to do it again. I'm older now, I don't know, but
I'm getting there. When I'm gonna get to a point where I'm saying, yeah, it was worth it, and I haven't quite got there yet, but I will. And somebody's gonna hit me up and say, I need you on a podcast, man. I've seen you before, and I'm about to like, hey, look, when I first started, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. So let's talk about the mistakes, because everybody celebrates wins. What I have learned and am learning in business and in life is that my mistakes are just as valuable as my wins. Matter of fact, I probably learn more from my mistakes because now I have the experience to actually create insight. But like as a person, as a husband, as a leader, as whatever, you don't want to make mistakes. But the truth is it's inevitable. Tell me about the biggest mistake you've made and how did you handle that in that moment?
Yeah, so I guess when I look back, the biggest mistake I ever made is so when you've got your own business and you've got a family, there's a lot of juggling to be done. So the lesson from this is getting that balance right. And I was in a position where I adopted 2 kids. This is the first time I've actually spoken about this. Adopted 2 kids. I was married. The business was doing all right. Difficult patch. We're going through a few recessions there in the UK, probably going through that. And I'd taken investment in the agency quite a lot. And when I was saying about making sure you get your contracts and your agreements right, there were some issues there. Mm-hmm. It led to me walking away from my first agency. And at the same time, my marriage fell apart. Oh, wow. And I walked away with nothing. And by that, I mean literally nothing. So that's my biggest mistake. I took my eye off some of the balls. Everything fell apart with the agency and my personal life. And I think, and when I look back at that, so there's my biggest mistake. But what I say is I don't dwell on that because the day after, it was like, there's the relief, that's all gone. And I got a phone call from one of my customers who said, we want a new website from you, Darren. And I said, do you know what? I've just walked away from my agency. And because of the terms of the contract, I had to give it all to my co-investors. Yeah. I said, I can't work with you. I can't do it. He went, well, we didn't buy the agency. We bought you. We want to work with you. Mm-hmm. There's the lesson. People buy people. All right, okay. Cool. So I had £80 in my bank and I invested that in a train ticket down to the south coast of England. Yeah. And I signed that deal. And when I was on the way back up, a couple of other customers said, can we still work with you? And I'm like, not too sure legally. They said, yeah, but we're going to work with you anyway. And I got more customers. So very quickly, and this is 2015, so very quickly I went from a point where when I went down south and I had the meal with that customer, he took me for a meal. Had I had to pay, I had no money. It would have been awkward. Fortunately, they paid for it. But from that, I very quickly realised that people had bought me, not my agency, because with the values we still have with now. So we always say that we're committed to the success of each other and the people we work with. Because I commit myself to the customers that we were working with and giving, driving results for them, not just for my agency. People remembered it. So when Courageous began, which you start to see some of the reasoning behind that name, in 2015, we didn't just start as an agency from scratch. We had some of the customers, very quickly, most of the staff, and we were able to say to some of them customers that we didn't enjoy working with or weren't quite a right fit, thanks, but no thanks, you've got to work with your own agency. And it was a big mistake because the way that it ended up by taking my eye off them balls. Was it the best thing that could have happened? Probably was in the end, because we've learned from it, we've grown from it, and we take some of them lessons forwards.
That's very transparent. Literally everything falls apart and then everything comes together. Yeah. And it seems like that's the formula. And it's a hard price to pay. And I'll share this as I always, sometimes when you're in it and you're building your vision, it's like you have tunnel vision. You can't see anything. Like my wife has to ask me, like, Cody, it's time to go to bed. Like I'll be sitting here and I'll be thinking, there's another grant I can apply for. There's another content piece I could create. There's another add-on. There's another, like, there's always in my head, to the point that you become married to the vision. Like that becomes really your partner in this. And it's hard to juggle the interpersonal relationships and to have that transparency, that, you know, you're okay with me giving my all that should be given to you, but it's given to this so that I can be who I need to be for you. And that's a really difficult conversation. So you mentioned start of 2015 and the creation of Courageous, and, you know, people are calling you, you're on the train, and you're having this business luncheon or dinner, and you didn't have the money to pay for it. How do you deal with vulnerability? Because I find myself, and I'm gonna be honest, like I have a huge meeting tomorrow, and like I know I'm qualified as a business, but I haven't done it. You know, like now I've got to the point, it's like you find yourself in rooms and spaces, and sometimes you feel like the dumbest person there. Maybe not dumb intellectually, but like not highly developed, right? How did you deal with that feeling? Like I'm sitting across the table and they love my idea. They love my business. I can't even afford what we're eating. How did you deal with that?
Do you know what? I can't quite remember. However, what Dean said to me, and this it was a really, really posh restaurant, and he said, "Do you like oysters?" I went, "I've never had oysters." And I'm thinking they sound expensive, and it must have been the look at my face as he went, "Don't worry, I'm paying for this." And I'm like, all right, get the oysters, like, you know what I mean? So it was like, so there must have been something where he's done that, but I guess he would have known. He knew what had happened with the agency and the way that it had, you know, sort of ended up, and he probably had a fair idea. And I guess that thing with vulnerability is there's different ways of dealing with it, isn't there? But what I've always found, so I'll give you an example of that story, Cody, where you talk about there with your meeting tomorrow, which I'm sure you'll do well. You'll do exceptional about that. But I was on a call. We just won eBay as a client.
Oh, wow.
This is eBay. This is the third biggest name on the internet at the time. Yeah. I don't know where they stand now, but big name. And we were doing some work for them through one of our other customers. And we're on a call with PayPal as well. Like, bloody, it's PayPal and eBay and me. Like, I don't, you know, imposter syndrome. I'm like, it wasn't imposter syndrome. I shouldn't have been on the call. But we were talking about this problem, and it was with a company called JD Sports, who are one of the biggest retailers in the UK. And we were talking about this problem, and he said, "Darren, how are you going to fix it?" And I went, "I have no idea." And he said, "You don't know?" And I went, "No, but I'm going to go away and find out." Like, oh. Now, at this point, JD were our client and eBay were new to us. And a couple of weeks later, someone from eBay called me up who was on that call and said, "Look, we want you to do some work for us in consultancy." And I said, "Oh, right, brilliant." I said, "Can you just ask why?" Because I think at the point it was only 2 or 3 of us in the agency. And he said, "Well, we really like your honesty. When you said that you didn't know how to fix the problem, people don't say that to us because we're eBay. People say, 'Oh yeah, it'll be fine.'" I said, "Oh, what happens?" They said, "Well, usually our projects run 3-6 months late. The budget goes out the window." I said, "We've just not used to that honesty." And I'm like, "All right," but so it's one of those things. You've got to judge it, though, haven't you? I was just honest because it was the best thing to do at the time because I didn't want to get found out for being wrong. So if you feel vulnerable about something and you can think of a way you can own that vulnerability, like I did, then it became one of the best things I ever did, because for about 5 years, eBay brought us all their biggest clients in the UK, some in the States, Australia, and Europe. They were a great company to work with. Mm. But sometimes you're going to have vulnerabilities in business that you don't want to admit. You know, so like at the time when I knew in the month, 2 months before my first agency and I was going to resign from it and I knew the repercussions of that, I couldn't tell very many people that, but I had really people that I'm really close to who gave me great advice, who are, I'm still grateful to today, who could help me with that and give me the best advice to see through it. So I guess it all depends on the type of vulnerability you're feeling and the way that you deal with it, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I think to that point, you had the backing of a true network. So something that I've been working on the last probably year and a half is developing that, right? Like, I think as human beings, it's easy to get locked down into your tribe. If you're in tech, you only deal with organizations that want tech or, people that sell tech. You don't think about, the art sector, or you don't think about the education sector. But the reality is all human beings are interconnected. And something that is a weakness and something I've been really working on is getting outside of Chicago, getting outside of, my experience, my culture, getting outside of it, because it doesn't devalue it. But to increase the value of it is to present it at face value to others, right? And to have this dialogue and this exchange. And that's something that I think is missing. It's missing from our politics. It's missing from business. It's missing from life, because everybody has gone to their corner, there's got this person over here that nobody wants to do this anymore. And that is destroying really progress as a whole.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And if you think about the creativity of an idea or a product or a business, the great ideas don't come from people staying in the lane and sticking in their tribe. It comes from people taking a step out of the comfort zone. So I think when people are out, running a business can be lonely and it can be isolating. Yeah. So the more people you get out with, it's like when people talk about networking. I think there's different types of networking. There's networking to go out and sell, which I don't think really works. But there's networking to go out and build a support network. I think that does work. So, obviously you're now part of my network. We're not here to sell to each other. But at some point, if we have a challenge in the future, we've got each other to rely on. And then from in the future, someone might say to me, I'm in the States. I'm looking for the best creatine I can get. I know the person to go to. And I think it's that thing so that, and it might be that, tomorrow you might have an issue with logistics and say, Darren, you do e-commerce. Yeah. Have you had this before? And I can go, actually, yeah, do this and fix it. You know what I mean? So it's that thing is, I think with networking, if you build a support network first, the rest follows. And now when I go networking, if anything looks salesy, I avoid it. If I think I want to learn something or meet interesting people, I go to it. It doesn't matter what type of event it is. I think it's the worthwhile because they just help you get the right support network. And with that challenge I had, like you say, which is now 2015, so 11 years ago, had I have not done networking, I wouldn't have had great solicitors, great business minds who've been in business a lot longer than I have, who could actually say, right, this feels stressful to you now, Darren, but there's A, there's B, and here's how we get you there, and made it a lot easier than it had to be. That's true.
Yeah. That's true. We sell in the UK too, so they don't have to come to the States. I can ship it over there.
There you go. You've got a new customer then. There you go.
We're gonna go here. We're gonna talk about the future of e-commerce as a whole, the role of AI and how it's impacting business. Got to take a quick break. When we return, we got the one and the only Darren Ratcliffe after this.
There's a hero in all of us waiting to be unleashed. All it takes is just that one last push. Activate the hero within with CVMK Global Supplements. All natural, steroid-free, designed to enhance performance, build muscle, and increase energy. You are unstoppable. You can do this. Become your own hero at www.cvmkglobal.store.
All right, it's time for a new commercial. That was actually the first SKUs we put out. We've totally changed the design, the brand, the logo. But that's still a good commercial. I always play it just to remind myself. But y'all, look, I got the protein with me. I got my pre-workout actually in the other room. I forgot to bring it to it. But hey, look, whatever you need, it's there. If you got 3 different versions of pre-workouts, we have 4 different protein SKUs. We're gonna get a 5th very, very soon. We have the vegan line, we have the BCAAs, we have that. We're all in also into now the peptide evolution. Y'all, I'm telling y'all, you're missing the whole thing. If you haven't followed us on CVMK Global yet on all social, you're missing it. If you haven't purchased from www.cvmkglobal.store, you're missing it. This right here, 31 grams, 130 calories, digestive enzymes, cinnamon swirl. Can't beat it with a stick. www.cvmkglobal.store. All right, so e-commerce, right? The future of it. When I started in 2021, I saw a need in the marketplace. I saw that fitness has become and is now an elitist movement. I saw it very segmented and very cornered, and the products were warring against each other with no face and no visibility. I saw when I would go into these stores, big box retail, smaller retail chains, you would look at the products that were offered. You couldn't find any research on the company. There was no transparency. I don't know who the CEO of, whatever. And I saw hyper branded guerrilla marketing, brand ambassadors with no real integrity. I said, that is why we have to get into this business. Not only can we create a safer product, a more transparent product, I want to be vertically integrated. I want people to know that when they buy it, they buy me. And as you said, they buy you. You can't say that, to the point that even the biggest companies, let's say, I don't want to get sued, but let's say Nike. Most people don't know who the CEO is. Maybe that's purposely done. A lot of people would know who the founder is because of movies like, Air and things of that nature. But for the most part, if he walked down the street, you still wouldn't know. But I want to be highly visible, not because I want to be famous, it's because I want to stand behind my brand and create trust.
Yeah.
What is the future of e-commerce business, Darren? Because I'm seeing extremes. I'm seeing drop shipping, pick a product, throw it out there, create funnels, and the customer is confused. And then I'm seeing heart-led missions. What is the future of e-commerce business?
Yeah, so e-commerce goes through change regularly. Things like the advent of eBay and Amazon. But when you go back, when's that, 10, 12 years, maybe a little bit longer, everyone thought that would be the end of the e-commerce website. Amazon is going to destroy it. And it's changed the market. And you mentioned AI before, and that's the biggest change that's come into all of our lives. Yeah, if you think about it, AI has only really been a commercial thing, 18 months, 2 years, seriously.
Yeah.
And you think about the effect that's had on society, work, and everything else. And that's the next change that e-commerce is going through. And when you look at people talk about frictionless commerce. So, and when you look at what Amazon's done, where you can just click once and the product arrives, depending where you are, same day. That's super quick, not putting card details. Brilliant. And I think that when you start to look at the advances that ChatGPT are making with people like Etsy and Shopify that's live in the States, where, I can go on and search for what's the best pre-workout that I can get. Not only is it going to say it's that, it's going to say, do you want it? And you can literally say yes, and then it'll just appear. So I think that's a big change. And the other thing that I don't know what it's like in the States, but certainly in Europe, a big challenge we've got is the speed it takes Chinese businesses now to air freight products into Europe and the UK is a real issue, because you've got your products where you're quite rightly focusing on effectiveness, on quality, not focusing on making it the cheapest. You're focusing on the right things. What we're seeing a lot of our customers competing with are people who can do the product that looks the same but doesn't have the same quality and is at a lower cost, competing with products that will last longer. And the biggest thing that e-commerce sellers need to address now is how do they convey how good they are. And I think what you're doing is great, because not only are you saying these products are great, you're actually saying it, and you can build a connection with people. And I think it's a good way for people to get around those sorts of challenges. I don't know what the final sort of verdict or answer to that is, but I think dealing with that imported stock, certainly UK, Europe, is a big challenge that needs to be addressed. Stuff with AI will help accelerate a race to the bottom, but that'll pass. I think there's always a way to get things cheaper. It's just concentrating on, I think, just people concentrating on conveying the quality and why you should choose them. I think is the key things.
What is AI, good or bad?
It's good. My friends are convinced that I think I'm in a relationship with ChatGPT. But so I like it. You've got to embrace it, haven't you? So just like when Mr. Morby first said to me, you're gonna get a video down the phone line. It was genuinely unthinkable, and everyone's like, you've lost the plot. You've gone insane. But you look at the benefits that those changes have brought society. I think overall, most people would say maybe social media is not so great. The internet's been a great change. AI is going to make our lives easier. It's going to bring us flexibility and choice. So I think, to me, overall, it's good. There's going to be bad parts to it. It's going to affect things that not for the best. But I think if we look back in 10, 15 years, I think we'll see it as a positive thing. I remember, the .com bubble when that burst.
Yeah,
we will go through that. Look at Anthropic. My mind's gone blank with the OpenAI. There will be AI bubbles that burst in the next couple of years, and I think that the pace of acceleration will likely come down a little bit, and things will settle down. So yeah, overall, I think it's a good thing. What about you? What do you think? I'm interested.
So obviously, hence the flyer in the background, right? AI is a necessary evil. And what I mean by that is it's necessary. Your back office automations, the ability to create documentation at rapid scale, the speed to delivery, every business, every person, not just business, student, whatever facet that you're in, you need this. Yeah. Where it gets wonky is if you think this replaces subject matter expertise, particularly with sensitive deliverables, that's where you run amok, right? Like if I wanted to create a contract between me and a content creator, right? I think it's a great start, but I would still loop in legal advice because, LLMs can hallucinate. LLMs they're only pulling information that is readily available. They're not attorneys. They have never practiced law. They've never taken the bar exam. They never stood before a judge. They don't understand cadence and culture. A technology could not understand. That's a very human emotion and there's very human ethos. But what they can understand is what you put into them, garbage in, garbage out. They can understand computation very, very well and do it rapidly better than human beings. But they can't understand the emotions of the human being that is requesting it, nor the one that will receive it, and anticipate engagement, right? That is a very unique human quality. And I think that's why there will always be a human in the loop. There will always be a necessity for human employment, also because robots don't buy from robots. But what AI can do and what it does do very, very well is it can remove a lot of the middle people, a lot of the kind of murkiness to get to a clear path for a solution.
Yeah, I think the other thing as well is that instinct. You know, when you've got your business meeting tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because of your experience, you'll be able to make instant judgments on the people that you're dealing with, whether right or wrong doesn't matter. Let's forget that. But you'll be able to adapt the way you perform in that meeting, the way that you speak, the things that you do. AI is not going to take that away. And when you're advising them people, or they're advising you, that instinct will be in play, and you'll never get that out of AI because it's unemotional, isn't it, at the minute? But it's for people like you and I, the benefit is our experience. We can use our experience to shape what we get get out of AI to make sure it's fit for what we want. And I think it's one of those things. It's like saying the typewriter is going to destroy writing with a pen. AI is just a tool that enhances the way we do things and help us do them smarter.
That's true. Do you think that, and this is something I've been going back and forth, because you can't discuss business without politics. They go hand in hand. It's a money game. Do you think that the state should support particularly small businesses because of the impact of AI? And what I mean by that, there's going to be a certain level of displacement, maybe just a reshuffling, because the weird thing is that, history kind of repeats itself. So if I can eliminate the need for a low-level entry job due to this, technology acquisition, should the government support the need to keep a certain level of human capital by funding businesses and say, hey, look, you might be able to run your $1 billion business with, 20 people, but we're going to pay you to have a workforce of 100 people because it's actually economically more feasible, and their taxes and everything goes back to the economy anyway. Therefore, we come up, sunny side up. Do you think that's a plausibility play in the future?
I think something needs to be done, because if you look at young people, I think they've got a real raw deal. So
yeah,
you go back in our agency before the COVID pandemic and everything else. One of the key things we used to do was having apprentices, young people come in and get trained on the job and learn. And we've got some people now out in industry in the UK who have done really well out of that. Yeah. Since the pandemic and remote working, that opportunity is taken away from them. So they can't get into the office and properly learn office skills. And then you mentioned that with AI. If you start taking away some of those entry-level jobs for junior members of staff, they've got another challenge. So governments do need to do something to deal with that, because otherwise we're going to end up as a society of people who just exist in their home, work in their home, and do nothing else, and that would be bad for society. And you read a lot about a universal basic income and things like this. That could be an answer. The challenge we've got is the power shifting, isn't it? Because you look at Donald Trump's inauguration, and who's there? Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Tim Cook. Yeah, that's showing that you might be the president, but these people have got a lot of power, and in that you're talking about there, they've got a lot of say in what happens with that. So and that's really difficult. You've got capitalist interests in society's interests, and that's way beyond me. I've no idea what the answer is, but there needs to be something, because otherwise we're going to end up in quite a soulless society where, I don't know, could end up quite dystopian. But something needs to be done now to plan for the next 5-10 years to make sure that things are done in a way that just helps society wide.
I like that. I like that a lot. We got to cut to a break. I want to talk about what needs to be done. We're going to get a little political without getting super political, because I'm always interested, particularly by hearing about our neighbors across the pond and, everything that's going on here. We will return with the one, the only Darren Ratcliffe after this as I look for my commercial after this.
Why are you still drinking boring protein? Sensual protein is not your average shake. It's bold cinnamon flavor, real muscle fueling power, and zero bland energy. Every sip hits different. It actually makes you want to stay consistent. If you're done settling for basic nutrition, this is your upgrade. Built by CVMK Global, a brand that moves with intensity and vision. Follow CVMK Global on Instagram and CVMK Globe on TikTok and unleash your inner beast.
Oh, I'm telling you, if Candace Hampton Fudge said it, it's got to be true. www.cvmkglobal.store, where it goes down. That actually rhymed. All right, so without saying we like or dislike whoever is in leadership, with everything that's going on, I'm wondering, will it hit the business sector first? I try to keep my eyes on you guys, right? Like I watch BBC News. I feel like I watch BBC News more than I watch MSNBC, right? I watch your prime minister. Is it Starmer? That's the last name? Yeah, Starmer. Yeah, he is for now, right? I watched the up and comer. Is her name Kendi, or she's in the Conservative Party?
Kenny Badenoch.
Yeah, Kenny Badenoch. I don't know why I watch you guys' Parliament sessions and not not our own. Maybe because American Politics has just become a reality TV show. So it's like, let me watch something that has a bit more civility to it. But it's the same dialogue. It's like they can't get anything done because they're pulled in every direction. And it's like, we want to focus on this. We got to focus on Greenland, or we got to, and now I have, I'm tied like this in 10,000 different ways. And it's hard to create clarity. Do you believe that your government understands the sensitivity and the need for small businesses to really not just exist, but expand and be able to compete against the whales of the world?
In a word, no.
Okay.
let me give some context to that. So in the UK, the SME sector, small, medium enterprises, I think employ more than any other sector. Maybe the NHS is slightly different, but it's massive. If you put all these businesses together, they're a huge employer. And this year we've seen them increase national insurance, which goes towards police, healthcare, things like that. That's been increased to a level that puts pressure on businesses. We were looking to employ 2 people full time. We pulled back from that. We've done it on a part-time basis because of that cost. So there's a challenge. But also, I don't know if you have it in the States, we have got minimum wage in the UK, and that's gone up as well. So again, coming back to those young people, the cost of employing them has gone up twice. One, because of the minimum wage, and secondly, because of the national insurance contributions. And again, not too sure about the States, but in the UK, hospitality sector, huge sector, really, really problematic because of these things. So what a lot of business owners are looking for is some leadership from Keir Starmer, his business secretary, to give everything a boost. Now, when we had our government change, which was 2 years ago, there was this great feeling that as we went from the Conservative Party to Labour, that there would be this, good feeling coming and everything takes a leap forwards. And it was a bit, not quite. And it's stalled. There's growth there, but it's really, really small. But I think that most people in the UK would like to see something pretty big give us that push. But they're dealing with Iran, Ukraine, Greenland every now and again. There's all these things that go on, and I guess the thing is, you look at it, and you've now got a president in the States that if he requests it, everybody flies to the States and goes for a meeting with him. So again, that's taking time up as well, and it's. I wouldn't want to be a member of Parliament because I think it's an incredibly pressured job where you probably don't have the time or necessarily the skills to deal with what you're asked to deal with. So yeah, it's in summary, I just think more needs to be done to help small businesses, because that's what keeps the economy ticking over.
I agree. I share the same sentiment. Over here, we have, like right now in Illinois, we have a Senate election that's going on. That voting is next week. Then we have a Congress. So it's a Senate and a Congress, because they rotate every 2 years. Senate is every 4. And then we have a mayoral election next year. And then we have a presidential election the year after that. So, I see more ads I get random text messages from, campaign committees. I see more ads against this. It's just weird. It's weird. Like in the United States, I feel like the only time you see your politician working is when it's campaign season. That's the only time they go invisible, right? Like it's a turnoff to the point that, when I was a kid, I was like, man, maybe I could be a senator one day. And now I'm just like, I wouldn't want to be, like, hey, I don't like mudslinging because, I'm kind of sensitive. I'm gonna say something if you say you come off the wall, but I don't want the games of it all, because I don't feel like these people are bad. I feel like when you get into it, you start seeing the truth of it and you realize, like, dang, I don't have that much power, right? And so now it's about managing expectations and actually helping people. And I think that's the disservice. I know I got a couple more minutes left. 2 more questions. I got to take another quick break. But when I return, my question is, if you could talk to your younger self when everything fell apart, what would you tell it, your younger self? After this quick break, we have the one and only Darren Ratcliffe.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours. Damn right, it's better than yours. I can teach you, but I have to chop. My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, they're like, it's...
I told you I'm building something cooler than Nike, man. We have apparel. It's not just supplements. I'm going to own fitness, from what goes in your body to what goes on your body. It's CVMK. Oh, it's about to be fire. That's the one and only Chloe Greco, your supermodel. She's amazing. Did this ad for us perfect. But y'all, I want you to get the sports bra out there. The support you need. Everything. Just go to the website. You'll see it. You'll see everything is under merch. www.cvmkglobal.store. I always like ending it on this question, because entrepreneurs, leaders as a whole, go through some of the toughest mental challenges, because you're trying to bring a vision to life that only you can see. And no matter what you've done in the past or what you're currently doing, it is uniquely yours. And nobody else has these thoughts. Nobody else shares this sentiment. And you're trying to convince the world that I'm not crazy. The year you said everything fell apart 2007. Let's go back. If you go back to when it all fell apart, right before you're in that dinner trip and you're on that chain ride, you have 80 pounds. Darren, what would you tell yourself if you could have a chat with you at that moment?
Yeah, so it was 2015. Started the business in 2015.
Okay.
So the things I would say, so I guess you've got to go back a little bit before then, and you've got to tell yourself to make sure you genuinely take the time to lift your head up, look at what's around you, and appreciate what you've got, and think about how you could, because I took my eye off the ball, and I didn't appreciate some of the things I had as much as I should have done. But also, I missed some really key signs and didn't listen to some of the people who were advising me. One is the accountant that I still work with him today. You've got to listen to good advice. You've got to appreciate what's around you. But the one thing that I would say is always have faith in yourself. And I was really lucky that when my faith in myself and my resilience was waning, I had people to remind me of my faith and my resilience and how good I really was. So a few things there, really. It's like, say, be aware of what's around you. You always say, don't put your head up and enjoy the view. Do that from time to time. But also just have confidence in yourself, because to me now, that was really grim time. It's just a blip. It's just a thing that happened that helped me shape the future. So, and you've got to take any bad time, as long as you learn from it, it's not a bad time. It's just an experience.
I like that. It's just an experience. Y'all, this has been an absolute pleasure. Last question, man. If you could see anybody on the show, if there was that one person that like this person should be on the show, and you know this exact individual, and you could actually make the introduction, who would it be and why?
So when you first said any individual, I'm thinking you've got to get the CEO of Nike on. Because
just for me to say that to his face, like, kid, hey, look, I'm a better CEO than you are, and I look better.
Like you. I don't know his name. So
that's when I get that lawsuit from Nike, like, please cease and desist from using our names.
Yeah, so I guess if I look at the people that so Mr. Moby, he long since retired. You don't want him on your show. But I guess two of the people that I know that inspire me and excite me when I speak to them is two people. One's called Andy Hall. He's a mentor. He's here in the UK, and has given me a great deal of confidence in myself and chance to reflect. And I will ask him if he would like to come on the show. And the other one is a guy called Chris Marsh, who, again, know through networking in Manchester. And he's a great people connector. And I think he'd be an interesting guest for you. So I will ask both if they would like to be a guest.
I'd appreciate it. I'm looking forward to the introduction. And y'all, for both of them, I'm looking forward to connect with them. Like, I got one more break, and then we'll ask where the people can, connect with the Courageous Agency and find you. One more break, y'all, and then we're signing out after this quick word.
This is my body. Fitness to me means putting your health first. Men want a big butt. But yes, for me, it was my lower body. I always do creatine if anything. I like I'm super thick and I feel amazing. I have a lot of energy. Shop now at CVMK GLOBAL.store.
Y'all, the creatine speaks for itself. If you don't know, now you know. www.cvmkglobal.store. I'm telling you, it is 99. We go through third-party testing to make sure we only put the purest monohydrate in there. 99.9% is what our test results come back, because we can spike it and sell it at $10, and you get cheap crap, and it'd be bad for you. But if you want the purest, you got to go to www.cvmkglobal.store. Super thick creatine, men and women, it is for you. Darren, this has been an absolute pleasure, man. Where can they connect with you to say, man, I want to follow you, I want to connect with you, I want to your business, I want to hire, I want the Courageous Agency? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so for the agency, courageous.co.uk is our website. You head to there. Easiest way to find us on socials is through me. It's the easiest one to remember. It's at WebDarren. WB is in web, and then Darren is in my name.
Y'all connect with them on the socials. Go to the website. Hire them. It goes down. If you want to keep seeing amazing leaders like we have on today, you know what you got to do. YouTube. One word, 4 letters, CVMK. Everywhere else, the CVMK Show, .CVMK Show, but the supplements, CVMK Global. You put in CVMK Global, you're going to see the black bear. You're going to see the bear, and when you see the bear, you know you're at the right store. You're at the right stop, period. www.cvmkglobal.store. And until next time, guys, thanks.
This is the CVMK Show. Hit that subscribe button. Stay locked in for the next conversation and fuel your grind with the best supplements at CVMKglobal.store. See you on the next one.